Imagine we take a very intelligent animal, like a dolphin. A creature capable of complex communication, social bonds, and even self-awareness. So let's capture it and put it into a tiny round container. Small enough to fit in your pockets. And the only reason you ever let it out of the container is to let it fight against other intelligent animals. Like monkeys or dogs. Over life and death. Over and over. This may be a hot take, but I think it is kinda cruel. Yeah, but it's basically what you do in Pokémon since 1996. Of course, Pokémon isn't about animal cruelty. It's a children's game. Nobody would ever accuse you of being cruel against animals just for playing Pokémon. Except
N, and I'm always very happy to meet new friends.
back then, 2010, in Pokémon's newest mainline game, Pokémon Black and White. The series did something that it never had done before. It introduced a character called N. And N actually thought about this whole Pokémon stuff like this. N isn't introduced as a villain in the traditional sense. He doesn't burn on the screen with evil music or grand threats. He doesn't mock you and he doesn't underestimate you. He's a pale young man with messy light green hair. He looks actually pretty normal compared to other Pokémon characters. What the fuck is this? He talks quietly and politely. And the special thing about him is, instead of challenging your strength, he challenges your certainty. Early in the game, during one of Team Plasma's public speeches, N says something along with the line of, "Pokémons are not tools for humans, and they shouldn't be used for their convenience." Those were topics that Pokémon had never confronted their fans with, neither in games, nor in movies, or in the animated series. And this happened long before the story escalates, before the castle rises from the ground, before legendaries are awakened. And that's important because at that moment, nothing he says sounds unreasonable. The core of N's worldview is simple. He believes that Pokémon should be free. Not symbolically or not treated better, actually free. No Pokeballs, no ownerships, no battles fought. Throughout the game, N repeatedly asks questions that Pokémon players almost never ask themselves. Do Pokémon fight because they want to? Or because they are told to? Is a bond still a bond if one side can never leave? Does tradition justify suffering just because it's always been this way? At one point, during an early battle against you, N says something very close to, "Your Pokémon, it doesn't seem to dislike you, but is it truly happy?" To understand why N believes this so deeply, you have to understand how he grew up. N didn't have a normal childhood. He grew up completely isolated. His only companions were Pokémon. Especially always Pokémon that had been hurt by humans. Abandoned Pokémon, abused Pokémon, Pokémon that had every reason to fear and distrust people. And this was not an accident. N was raised under the influence of Ghetsis, the true leader of Team Plasma. Ghetsis carefully shaped N's ideals by controlling what he saw, what he heard, and who he interacted with. Ghetsis created a worldview where humans are inherently cruel and Pokémon are inherently victims. And yet, N doesn't come across as brainwashed. He is thoughtful, reflective, and consistent. One of the most important details about N is his unique ability. He can hear Pokémon and understand them. Throughout the game, N tells you what your Pokémon are feeling. He comments on their emotions after battles. He reacts to their fear, their exhaustion, and their confusion. Where the player assumes that the Pokémon are happy, N claims to know. The game never directly contradicts him. This gives N a kind of moral authority that no other character has. When he speaks about Pokémon suffering, it doesn't feel like projection, it feels like a testimony. Team Plasma as a group complicates this even further. On the surface, their message sounds almost progressive. Pokémon liberation, ethical treatment, ending exploitation. They frame themselves as the noble protectors of the powerless. But beneath that ideology lies something familiar. Control. Ghetsis doesn't want Pokémon to be free. He wants people to be disarmed. A world where only he holds power, and he uses a morally compelling cause to get there. It resembles the usual debate of whether it's better that no one has weapons and no one can use them, or if everyone has weapons and can defend themselves against others who are armed. As the story progresses, N's conviction only grows stronger. He challenges gym leaders and defeats them. But unlike other trainers, he releases his Pokémons immediately afterwards. He doesn't keep them. He doesn't collect them. He lives by his principles. And this consistency makes it harder to dismiss him. Spoiler warning. By the time the Pokémon League is torn apart and N's castle rises from the ground, the story has crossed the line. This is no longer a disagreement. It's a forced decision. N awakens a legendary Pokémon, not to destroy the world, but to redefine it. He wants to become a powerful hero. I will become a hero, and when I do, I will decide what's right. This is where N crosses from idealism to absolutism, because the tragic irony of N is, in trying to free Pokémon, he stops listening to them. He assumes that freedom must look in one specific way: separation, distance, and a clean cut between humans and Pokémon. And in doing this, he makes the same mistake he accuses humans of making. He decides for them. Imposed freedom is no longer freedom. When N is defeated, there is no dramatic breakdown, no rage or no hatred. There is just doubt. In the aftermath, N begins to question himself. He acknowledges that perhaps coexisting is more complicated than he believed, that bonds, imperfect as they are, can still be real, and they can be chosen. His defeat isn't the end of a villain. It's a collapse of a worldview that was too pure to survive reality. So, was N right or wrong? Not entirely. Bonds can become control, and tradition can hide cruelty. At the same time, care doesn't equal ownership, and protection doesn't always mean separation. Much like real-world relationships with animals, pets, companions, even working animals. The morality lies not in the existence of the bond, but how it's lived. Pokémon Black and White never gives you a clear answer. They leave you with something more unsettling. A question. And maybe that's why N is still in players' minds, all these years later. Because the most uncomfortable stories are the ones that tell us that we could be wrong. My name is Miguel Costa. Thank you a lot for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, I would highly appreciate if you leave a like or even a follow. Thank you all for the incredible feedback on my last video. Your support honestly means a lot to me and keeps me really motivated. And besides that, I would say, see you guys on the next video.